It's the Jacket Off Podcast, episode, I don't know,
26.
26. There is.
That's a number we can all get behind.
A number we can all get behind. It's been a long time past since the podcast has been able to buy us a beer. In podcast years.
What?
What?
What did you just say?
Said it's been a long time since the podcast turned 21. We didn't even acknowledge that.
Oh.
Anyway, as I'm drinking a beer. It's a good one, man. It's a beautiful day out up here in sunny Saratoga Springs, New York.
It's not beautiful out. Still cleaning up
It
the
wasn't
goddamn snow over here.
Dude, I had to fucking look at what's behind me. I had to cover up my window with a fucking kilt because the fucking sunlight was leaking in so hard that it would like turn me into a silhouette. Then I got a light shining on my face over here so that I can actually look like a person. So yeah, it's pretty goddamn sunny out here, but Alexa, weather.
Currently, in Greenfield Center, it's
13 degrees, she says.
Today, you can expect
I can expect cold temperatures.
Are we recording a podcast or are we just talking here? Should we
High
just...
60s.
We need a hot reset on this one.
Recording podcast is talking. That's what it is. That's the people pay big money and ad revenue for people to talk about the weather and other shit they did. So here's another thing I did.
What'd you do?
Last night was the weirdest night ever. I told you I was playing Oxenfree, and I just started in and I fully completed it, but during that time I forgot to eat dinner, and then again telling you before this that the game was so captivating that I forgot to eat dinner. That's like 10 out of 10. But I was playing it, and then Becky texted me. She was out with her cousin and her sister. I said that I didn't want to go to this dinner because I didn't want to go first. And then second was that I had just started playing Oxenfree about 20 minutes before she left, and it had just started to suck me into
spooky.
the narrative. It wasn't so much that I hadn't gotten to like the cave portion yet, but
yeah, I'd say about 20 minutes wasn't that part yet.
But at least that was the part where I was like, oh, I don't think I want to go. I'm gonna stay here and see how this plays out. So
Bring me home a doggy bag, Bex.
About an hour and a half in. Well, I'll get to that. So about an hour and a half in, I get a text from her. She's like, we're in the parking lot of JCPenney. We were picking up she was picking up her cousin Erica, and she works there. She's like, we were picking up Erica, and they were in her sister's car. They got back to the car. She opened the door to the back seat, and when she tried to close it, the fucking latch froze.
Oh.
So they couldn't close the door of the car. I said, so I'm like in the middle of this. I'm like sweating. I'm at like the craziest parts of the game. And I'm like, so what do you want me to do? Like, do you want me to come out there and try to fix it? She's like, we're near Sears. Somebody just went in there to try to see if they could find like some fucking WD-40 or some shit. I was like, all right. So I don't know what to tell you.
Work.
Huh?
Maybe go get some hot hands and put it on the latch.
We're gonna go get an electric tea kettle from fucking JCPenney and fill it with water and pour some hot water over the latch, and hopefully that'll work. But I was like, I was kind of thinking in the back of my head, like, oh god, I hope they solve this problem so I can keep playing this game.
That's life right there.
That's life. I'm basically like talking to her on the phone, being like, listen, life's gonna throw you some curveballs, girl, and you gotta learn how to solve them on your own. Meanwhile, I'm like, oh my god, this is the craziest game I've ever played. So I keep playing. I'm having like a weird feeling. Like the game itself, coupled with the fact that it's like a weird cold winter night and my girlfriend could be possibly stranded somewhere, freezing her ass off. trying to
She
get this
never
fucking...
she never drove down the street with a broken latch on her door before. Come on, everyone's done that. That's just something you do. Welcome
You're
to the
just
real
hoping-
world, Becky.
You're just hoping you can make it to nice and easy to get beer before your door swings out and knocks somebody over on the sidewalk. Whoa, sorry about that. Holy shit. Did you just see that? My door went fucking flying.
I've been in more than one car where the door wasn't latched.
That was Wednesday. That's just a normal winter Wednesday. If it drops below 10, that fucking passenger side rear door is frozen no matter what every day. So then she says they called AAA, which I'm like thinking in my head like, the only time that I ever called AAA was when I went into a ditch going to Jeff's house when I pulled off the Griffiths Air Force Base exit and fucking hit the brakes to go around to turn to the first intersection. And when I hit the brakes and tried to turn, my car was just like, nope, I'm going to keep going straight. So I literally went between like 2 street signs and knocked my rear view mirror off. The bitch went flying. I'm down in the bottom of the ditch. I was like, well, fuck. Call Jeff. I'm like, Jeff, do you have AAA? He's like, yeah, why? I'm like, I'm in a ditch, I think. I tried to get out, but it's not working. I'm driving a Neon. It's like this like 2 inches off the ground.
2 inches off the ground. The car's at a 45-degree angle in the ditch. I tried to push it. It just wouldn't budge.
No, the funny thing is that it wasn't a ditch. What it was literally like a weird, like, open patch of just snow, like, next to the road that was completely flat at the bottom, but the side was, like, the smallest incline. I went over the hill going, like, 15 miles an hour. It was barely me crashing the car or doing anything to it. I literally just... like sort of slowly coasted over the edge, and I just went, "Oh, geez,
this isn't the road."
Oh, this wasn't my preferred way. Okay. So anyway, back to the other thing. So they called AAA, and the guy comes over and he's like, "I got some tools. I'll figure it out." So he probably wang jangles a fucking screwdriver in there any other.
He just breathed on it a little bit.
Yeah, okay, and then fucking puts his magical healing hands on it, and then, like I said, jiggles the fuck. I mean, this is what any other person would do. This is what I would have done. If I would have came out, I would have been like, I probably got a screwdriver in my car somewhere, and fucking stab it until it clicks into place again, close the door, and just be like, don't use that door again.
Yeah, don't use that door till it's nice out.
Not only don't use that door until it's nice out, but, go get another car, because this is just not going to work out for you. I'm that kind of person where it's just like, the other day I was like, my transmission was a little slippy this morning. I think I got to go trade this bitch in. Like, disposable vehicles. So, keep playing Oxenfree. They're trying to figure it out. I'm just like, keep me posted. And I'm just fucking cranking away at the video game. She calls me later and she's like, okay, so we weren't able to make it to the restaurant that we wanted to make it to, but we just went in town somewhere and went to like an Indian place. Okay, cool. So she calls me later. She's like, can you come pick me up? I'm like, yep. So luckily I had completed
you were done with the game
at this
yeah.
point. I was like, I'm coming. Now I'm but then what you're left with at the end of this game is such a weird feeling of like foreboding and just like you just feel weird. I told you that it was like when I finished all the Scott Pilgrim graphic novels. Not exactly the same way, but like it's that you don't know what to do with your life type of feeling where it's just like, what do I do now? It's like a big odyssey, and then you just... Ugh.
Well, lucky for you, the way the story plays out, you could just replay it again, and it would be in line with the story.
Exactly. So...
You could just play it forever and ever.
So I go out to I go out to pick her up, grab her, and they were all huddled together in her dad's car while they were waiting for AAA for the other car. And on the way home, all I could think was just in my head is like, any minute now, I could fucking enter in some alternate reality, or Becky's eyes will turn red, or some shit, and it started getting all glitchy, and a fucking tear will open up in the sky, fucking get sucked into that bitch.
Are you a goddamn demon alien, Becky? Are you?
Fucking shaking her when we pull into the driveway. You can tell me. So that was what happened last night. Just a weird night. I really
just odd.
Can't quite explain it. Yeah, just a strange evening. So, this beer. So that's the next part of the story. Then Becky tells me that our downstairs neighbor, I think this was actually when she was at work that day. She texted me and she's like, Emily, our downstairs neighbor, just texted us and she just left us a thing of beer. I'm like, why? And she's like, she said just to look on the porch, there's a note on it. So I went out there and I looked on the porch and there's lo and behold, a fucking 6-pack of Davidson Brothers IPAs just sitting there with a pink Post-it note on it that said, hey, I'm sorry that you guys have had to put up with so much bullshit. And it almost took me a second. I was like, what the fuck is she even talking about?
We're the bad neighbors.
I was like, what bullshit did I have to put up with? And I was texting Becky, and she's like, it was about the other night because she came in the house and there was a big fucking commotion and there was doors slamming and she was all upset about something. And I was like, oh yeah. Then I realized I had inadvertently become a voyeur in this scenario, and I was like listening out the window and be like, what the fuck is it? Am I going to have to go break some face out here?
80-year-old lady.
Commotion. Huh?
You're like an 80-year-old lady. What's going on?
Yeah, I'm just like, the fucking tartan goddamn blanket back here is normally shitty piss yellow curtains, and I'm just like peeking through the fucking thing like it's like hello neighbor. I'm just like, what the fuck is going on down there? I did feel a little intrusive ultimately, but it was loud. I mean, there's no doubt about it that it wasn't just me trying to like pull something out of a situation. It was legitimately like woken up at like 1 o'clock in the morning and be like, what the fuck? So, like another weird evening that, ended up culminating in a beer. I really still don't know what happened, so hopefully I'll have more news on that as it unfolds. But I don't really think it was
I'm sure she appreciates you, spreading your news and business everywhere.
Listen, spread your news and business everywhere would be different if this was a podcast that had over 3 people that would look at it every so often. And honestly, I'm so far out in the middle of nowhere. It was like when I lived in the ghetto in fucking Utica. It's like, Brent, I honestly had no idea that you lived there or any of the other places you lived. Nobody would have been able to find me. If somehow I had gotten into trouble in those locations, I'd be a goner. Brent was playing Oxenfree one night and he just disappeared. So.
No.
What's in here?
Nothing.
What is in there, Dylan?
Nothing.
What's supposed to be in there?
The bodies.
The bodies. So yeah, couple of weird days. However, you had tasked me with a couple things.
A couple?
Well, just one, I guess. Weirdly enough, the thing that you tasked me with ended up being far shadowed by the thing that I wasn't tasked with that I kind of just did. But nonetheless, it was.
Oh, so sorry. I didn't mean to.
Did you? I was gonna ask you. Did you? Did you get like? Did you feel like Subsurface Circular was like a? It was trying to be edgy, but it wasn't. Did you feel like that kind of?
No.
No.
Where'd you even?
Well, how did you feel about it?
I don't know. It was kind of cool. It reminded me. It was like Tacoma a little bit.
Oh, see, that's one that I had to play.
Kind
too.
of some of the themes they share.
The like I kind of felt like if it had a longer, Jesus Christ, what the hell's going on with me? If it had a little bit longer, which is not usually the case for my thought process, if it had a little bit longer in terms of like developing some of the ideas, maybe I would have felt a little bit differently about it. But it felt like it kind of threw you into a narrative that sort of you didn't understand it. I mean, this happens a lot, but they throw you into a narrative where you don't quite really understand who you are, what your role is. They let that roll out to you sort of slowly in the beginning.
What? It's the first conversation you have.
Well, I mean,
it sets up who you are.
Well, no, the first conversation that I didn't even know what type of game we were playing here. First of all, you said it was text-based. I was thinking that it was going to be some retro thing. Like it was going to be like a, you know what I mean? Like a retro text-based
kind of
type thing or something.
It's just a little less. It's a little more than that. It's like a build on that.
Well, it looks great. Like it's got a very nice feel to it. The Destiny type parallax inverse scrolling thing with the camera. That's kind of a nice touch on it. It's very it's stylistically very good. I think there isn't really there isn't really very many moments in there where I felt like there was like a suspense building, or that there was something that was like giving me like a sense of dread, or like a sense of tension. There wasn't a lot of tension in it, and that's what I felt was probably lacking the most to me.
I don't know that there was supposed to be.
Well, sometimes in a story, even if it's just text-based, they can sort of like, it felt like there needed to be a twist where you just were waiting for something to turn, or waiting for something to be. And I like obviously like the deletion section is sort of where they tried, but like after that, I didn't feel like I was like fucking totally alarmed by that. It wasn't me being afraid that those detectives were gonna get on the train and fucking wipe my shit out, or like,
well,
or
you
do
should
something nasty.
You should already know that it's gonna happen.
In what sense?
Well, you broke protocol, and
right when they said that, so
the first thing you do is break protocol. So
right.
When you learn that they delete, like, they do that, like, you learn like there's a code that could go into your base level to delete you and everything. You know it's coming.
It just doesn't give me that. It wasn't
that they set it up with that. They set it up with the fact that you meet the nanny that they ended up deleting her, so you know that that's something that they do. Then there's the one that you have to like go to use like the code word to go into his base level, so you know that they could get into your base level if they know. Like they set that whole thing up to where you're getting deleted. Like, so I don't know that was supposed to be like, whoa, I can't believe they deleted me, because you knew it was going to happen.
Well, there weren't many other parts. I mean, does that make it like predictable in a way, or that they've given you so much foreshadowing that there really isn't much of a thing where you get this like surprise holy fuck moment? Like, I mean, obviously
that wasn't the moment. Yeah, that wasn't the moment though. But
the end is like the end just feels like you're not invested in it, because they're telling you what the effects of kind of what it is that you do. And with this kind of game, they're limited by the fact that you can't see anything. That you've spent your whole time in this one particular vignette, right? It's like a coffee and cigarettes thing.
It's on a subway car.
your whole time. What?
You spend your whole time on a subway car.
That's what I said. Or I said it's
Yeah.
a vignette.
Well,
So
you said you were like describe this like you're like a coffee and cigarettes type thing. Just say it what it is.
well, no,
You don't
I'm
got it.
saying
You don't got to
if
get all
it's-
$1,000 words for
I'm not
you're sitting on
trying
a
to
subway
$1,000
train.
word it. I'm trying to say that the way that they've constructed the game is that they put you in one place for the entire thing, so that you just have a sense of where, like, it's just like that fucking Ryan Reynolds movie where he's in the goddamn coffin the whole movie, or it's just like Coffee and Cigarettes where they're just in one little area in each thing, and it's its own self-contained story.
Well, that I mean, you could think of it like that, but that's the robot that you're following's job is to be a detective on the subsurface circular.
Oh,
So they never
I
actually
completely understand.
leave.
As a
You are living that what that character's life actually is. That, but
So-
you're just seeing one day in that like.
what they're trying to tell you is that a cataclysmic event is going to take place based on your decision above ground of this self-contained subway car that you're in. And they tell it to you in probably a minute worth of exposition based on the information that you found. They sort of use that, and then Red gets back onto the train. He says, here's what's going to happen if you do this. Here's what's going to happen if you do that. You have to decide. They give you a very clearly delineated sort of list of things. You don't really have a very strong reaction one way or another because you're not invested in what's happening up there. You've had a bunch of other people tell you about what it is, but you yourself can't see exactly what it. They've just told you a story by proxy, pretty much.
Well, that's I mean, again,
You're not
that's,
very heavily.
that's how.
That's why
if
that's
you
my
were that
point about
robot,
being heavily invested.
if
That's
you were
all.
that robot, that's how you would make the decision.
Right. If you
Only
were him
based
and
on
you-
that because you don't see
what,
the world
what
above.
they've done in the game is they've given you a slice of it, because if you had seen previous events and events afterwards, then you would have
but you
the
wouldn't.
context on it. If Subsurface Circular was a game where you started in the terminal and sort of saw the world a little bit and interacted with people that were in that world to understand what their attitudes towards these robots were,
It's
and
not.
things like that.
That's not the point of view they're trying to get across. I don't know that maybe you didn't catch that, but that
I just
robot,
didn't find
the
it
robot
appealing
that
from that perspective.
the robot that you play, his only job is to be on that tram. They don't leave it ever.
I completely understand.
So if you were that robot, you would make this decision based only upon what you've learned in that small period of time, because that's the whole the whole reason that you started like searching this shit. You know what I'm saying? Like,
But I really didn't feel like there was a sense of me scrambling to try to figure out what it is that I needed to do, because I don't have a grasp on what that decision means. I don't really have like what it. I don't really understand what it means. And
okay. Well, every conversation you have with these robots is trying to give you the actual game player like a sense of like they're human. Like, are they human? Like, what's it mean to be like? It's that basically near automata. Like,
I understand
What's
that.
that mean? What's it mean to be human? Like,
that part of it is definitely to be appreciated.
okay,
from
that's what
narrative
sets it up at the end. And the end is basically, do you feel that the robots are human enough to be allowed to be set free, or are robots only used as a tool for the humans? Does AI mean nothing?
I guess
what
in
is
the context
sentience?
of the story, I don't know if I took that the wide of a view of it. I guess because there was so much that I
So
was
pretty
absorbing during
heavy-handed.
when you were reading it, if you, and also I flipped it one more time. So during the dialogue, I chose one way and then I flipped it again, and then I read through what that all of the data that sort of came through as a result of me flipping it and saying, okay, here's the final decision. Because, you know, it's like the gun's pointed at you, but then it's like you can flip it by doing this. I might have probably done myself a disservice by overcomplicating the end portion of the game by trying to be like, oh, what if I switch it around and try to reevaluate and think about it or whatever. It just seemed like it was a high density of like stuff, a high density of options, not options, but like story beats type of thing. When I'm like reading back through the text, and I was like, okay, so if I point the gun at myself, that means that I kill myself, and then everything goes back. And I was like, okay, so let me look at before that when if I shoot it at him, well, then what happened? So I was like, I think probably thought about it too heavily. Really?
Yeah, probably.
It just didn't. It didn't give me the tinglies. It didn't. You know what I mean? Just didn't do it. I wanted it to be like real impactful, but it just didn't feel that way.
It could have been because it was mostly text based, and if you don't pick up on something, you kind of lose. Like it's all context.
Type of games also to really.
Oh, I haven't either. I just
on it.
wanted to play this one, like just to see because.
Where did you get the idea to play it from?
I heard of it, and so I was like, I want to play it.
That's
just like every other game I play. It's
well,
like,
no, I just
well,
was
I heard
if
of
there
that
was a
game
very
and
specific.
No, I just heard of it, and like, well, because it's a Mike Bithell game. He did Thomas Was Alone and Volume, and he kind of just.
I knew it because of the priest thing. I didn't even get that until the end of it. I was like, wait, Thomas.
Yeah, that was Thomas Was Alone. That was that little story. What's it? Whatever that the priest tells you. But,
Jesus Christ, that goes on for forever.
Yeah, he kind of just stealth released this one day.
Huh.
Just put it out. It's like, yo, here's a game I was working on. Throw it out for $5.
That's so weird.
And I wanted to play it, and I don't know. I just never got around to it. And then
tell me how you felt about it.
It was interesting from beginning to end, but again, yeah, it didn't capture me. But the reason that it didn't capture you, it seems like that you didn't pick up on some stuff that it was trying to put down. Whereas to
I
me,
understood thematically what it was trying to talk about, but the subject matter that we're talking about didn't get me invested in what the story was great. You can't really get invested in a character that doesn't have. It's just hard. It's hard because you don't. I mean, it's funny that this is the case, but because it has to do with the theme of the game is that you're dealing with a bunch of robots that don't in any way have also text-based. So you're reading things in your own tone. You're reading things in your own voice. Sort of the part where you're trying to solve the puzzle of the what do you call it? The deputy robot and the main detective. When you're trying to solve that issue, it's like there's an element there where you can actually understand emotions from them a little bit because of the way that they portray it very clearly. But then in other sections, you're just like, yeah, this is just reading. It's like you don't get like a real something emotions because you're not supposed to.
Yeah, I don't think those the other robots. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think the other robots have emotion.
Well, that's so.
Except for maybe the sports robot, you can sense that he's talking upbeat when he's trying to pitch you energy drink or whatever.
all you know, and I don't know if this would be short selling it or turning me into some sort of patsy or some sort of idiot, but the fact that it didn't have music is another factor of not being able to tell when things shit's about to hit the fan type of scenario. There isn't like the typical there isn't the typical like whoop, like something is about to happen type thing. And again,
Do you get that when you're reading a book? Do all the books you read come with little speakers that have little sound clips you could play when you get to certain pages?
most of the time if I'm reading something fictional, there's no way that I'm going to be able to pick up on something probably unless they're beating me over the head with it. That's definitely true. But the thing is though is that I don't really read fiction, so that's problematic in and of itself is that
Okay, I mean, so we're kind of starting to get to the bottom of why
I'm reading
maybe
a
a
visual
lot of this
novel
didn't
where
hit to you.
what I'm expecting is a cinematic experience because I'm physically looking at it. And it's, for the most part, just quiet. And me as the person playing it would love to know when something has, something's eh. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's understandable.
Then again, something like Doki Doki, which is also text-based completely.
Yeah, but there's sound cues in that though.
They do have cues. When shit really gets bad, they do get the glitchy,
glitchy and like weird stabs and stuff.
Craziness.
Like there's sound cues in that. Like you can't really compare the two.
I'll tell you this though. If in Subsurface I was playing some parts and like especially like when you're getting to just before you're getting to the part where the detectives get on the train. If there was some things, some cue points during the dialogue before that happened, and maybe when they got on the train, I probably would have felt differently because the sound and the visuals were guiding me towards that conclusion. They're like, "Hey, something bad's gonna happen here." I mean, I know you've read it, and hopefully you can sort of treat that as it is without music, but for dummies like you, maybe we could put in some little bit of an ambiance here. Just give you a little sense of foreboding, a little bit of a sense of like tension some places.
But I
think it's important. Music is important.
Yeah, it is, but that wasn't the part that it would be in though, because
well, the end part too, and also like
the end part's where you actually learn what's really going on. Like none of that
Right.
other stuff really means anything.
Well, it's also and it's dense too. I mean, that's the other thing is that we're talking about a 2-hour experience that's
Trying to
very
throw it all
dense.
at you.
At one time,
But
and
I don't
I'm
know
not
if
trying
it
to
was
speed read it by any sense.
if it was any longer. I don't know that it would work at the same time
no, I
though.
don't believe so either. It's a completely self-contained narrative. I mean, but in a sense, though, these types of narratives are, I don't know if they like you. You could play a 6 to 8 hour game that's this, or you could just wrap it up in a short story. I mean, both ways are acceptable. I don't know. So like, then this is also in comparison to a game that really struck me heavily. So that's probably unfair too. They're completely opposite games, but I'm just thinking from a story perspective that, you know, this 4-hour sort of experience was, for whatever reason in my mind, massively impactful and had so much more going on for it in Oxenfree. But again, I can't really make a comparison between the two. I'm not going to say, like, why would I do that? But it is, I just, like, it kind of erased Subsurface in a way, which, you know, I couldn't help it. Is like I played the fucking game and I was like, oh my god, this is like
I've played like 2 other games recently that touched the same subject that did it better. Like, I'm not saying this is like the end all be all of that, but
Of what?
of like the the
What does it mean to be human type?
yeah, human, like
I mean, you played
like
Nier Automata.
our robot,
so-
like our robots, like like is there a sentience? Like,
Yeah.
can they understanding whatever the fuck, all that other
What's the other game?
garbage? Oh, Tacoma was kind of like that a little bit.
Oh, okay. And I mean,
It had some of that, but not like a real lot. It was just more like, yeah, the AI more like gaining like that sentience of being like, oh, like, should I warn the crew even though it's against my protocol
okay.
or whatever.
Giving you a little bit of,
yeah,
2001
like
Space Odyssey type feel.
it has a knowing about it, like it knows like
Right.
what's right and wrong, So
when did you play Oxenfree? Did you play it when it first came out?
no, I played it a couple months ago. It was a free game on Xbox Live.
Oh, okay.
And I had heard about it, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm gonna play through this now. That, I mean, it's free.
It won like best narrative at some video game award or whatever. I looked it up
Sure.
afterwards, but I can definitely see why. I think the way that it's structured is kind of like a Stranger Things type thing. They develop these young characters. I mean, the only place where it falls a little flat sometimes is in the dialogue, because sometimes it seems a little forced or a little like hackney type.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there was a little bit of it where it was like fellow kids type of stuff, which you could see very plainly or hear very plainly in it, where they make some of the characters say things that don't seem like would be something that a character either of their age would say or whatever. The voice acting's good. It's very conversational. I think that probably also has something to do with it. Is that it's like it's super conversational, but it's also some of the writing is a little but the strength in it is really just the artistic direction, and the story is very unique. It has things in it that have been done before, but from beginning to end, it's not unlike most narratives. It just seems completely different. They've twisted almost everything around. Because it could be any number of tropes from those like 80s. Because that's where they drew the inspiration from. The developers of the game were like, we kind of wanted to do like a coming of age 80s story, but a little bit of a horror twist to it. Which I think that was probably where they succeeded most, was that they made it endearing. They gave you enough from the characters to sort of make you invested in them a little bit. Yeah, I think it was just a more like, from a personal taste perspective, I just don't think there could be a better experience from an exploration game like that for me. That's just like that's kind of just like a point and click.
I thought Life is Strange is better
from the
like a narrative perspective, but
I
that's just me.
won't
I
doubt
just,
that at all. I know that it's absolutely more well crafted.
I played them around the same time, and I thought
It feels more real. I would imagine.
Well, no, not really. I mean, there's stuff in like not at all.
No, not the story. I'm talking about the dialogue. The dialogue. Probably is vastly more real.
It's a little,
and more well written. I mean, it was a bigger. I mean, it was a bigger effort to do Life is Strange, wasn't it? That was a more major title.
Well, I mean, not really. It was like
Not AAA, but it definitely wasn't.
I think it was their first game that Don't Nod did. Maybe they might have did one before it.
Huh.
But yeah, this one just happened to get picked up by Square Enix and released, like, published by them. But it was still Don't Nod. And
I mean, what little I had watched of it, because I remember Jeff playing it when it first came out. But I mean, what I watched of it, the dialogue seemed like the voice acting was top notch, like crazy good.
I'm not saying it doesn't fall into the tropes. I mean, it's basically Donnie Darko. There's no there's no way
the tr-
around. Like,
sure.
I'm not. That's
Any
not-
time travel narrative of that nature is going to be a little bit in there somewhere. Like the only movie or anything to do with time travel that I've ever seen that did it in a way that was actually seemed like plausible and realistic was Primer.
I thought you were gonna
Did you
say,
ever watch Primer?
No, I thought you were gonna say Looper.
Well, that one probably too, but that one was a little bit too actiony. Primer was if you and I had figured out how to do time travel and how that would work. It was just a group of dudes who had figured out how to do like a very rudimentary form of time travel, and they fucked with it so bad that like it ended up, creating recursion and spiral. You know what I mean? Like they started looping things too closely together, and stuff started overlapping, and they had to try to cover it up. And so but the movie makes zero sense. They tried to but that's the thing, is that a movie of its type, in terms of time travel, shouldn't make sense to the viewer, because that's what we're talking about. Like, there was a guy that actually mapped out.
I'd say it shouldn't make sense, but it should still follow its own rules. That's the one
exactly
the
right.
one thing that all time travel movies are tasked with. They should follow they set rules in place, and they should follow those rules.
Primer follows them so closely that it borders on unwatchable.
Great.
They say that we're going to make the most realistic time travel movie, and they don't stop until you're completely confused about what's going on, but in a kind of good way. And it's also a very cheap movie. It's super low budget. That's a watch.
Put that in your
put that in there. And Pi. I watched Pi around that same time. First Darren Aronofsky movie. That's one of my favorite like cerebral films ever. And the main topic is a man who's cursed by his own hubris. It's a very Twilight Zone-esque plot line.
to a fucking T.
To a T. Yeah, I really I love Darren Aronofsky's films are right up there with like the Wachowskis and all that shit to me. Because he's not afraid to make the fucking weirdest movie ever. Like Mother was the most recent one he made. I didn't even watch that because I heard it was awful. Darren Aronofsky.
Oh.
He made Requiem for a Dream.
Yeah. I know. Good old Danny A. He did Eraserhead, right? That was him?
That was Lynch.
Lynch. Sorry. I always get, they're all the same.
Well,
not really,
the Darren Aronofsky's of the world pretty much count David Lynch as being the guy that set them up to be able to make the kind of movies that they make. Like he's a godfather of macabre and like sci-fi cinema. There really isn't anybody. I mean, Ridley Scott and David Lynch are probably the two godfathers of what we consider the best in the fucking sci-fi genre today. Somebody like who I can't remember who directed District 9. Shit, it's right on the tip of my tongue too.
Chappie.
Was the same guy who did Chappie?
Yeah.
Shit. Well, so
no,
I mean,
it was the robot from Chappie. That's who directed it.
The robot from Chappie?
Yeah, it's the real robot. It's a real robot.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You don't know these things?
Huh?
You don't know these things?
You don't know this?
Come on. It's easy.
AI has gone farther than we could have ever imagined.
Chappie,
they're directing movies now.
Chappie went back in time and directed
Chappie went back in time.
Back in time, yeah. And then he directed
Villeneuve. Wasn't it Villeneuve?
Sure, I don't know.
But Villeneuve directed 2049, Blade Runner. Neil Blomkamp. Neil Blomkamp was who directed District 9, and he does...
Did you just have a stroke there?
Yes.
Neil Blomkamp.
It's a hard name to say. Neil Blomkamp. He's done like, oh wow, he's an animator too. But I love District 9. Those types of movies always get me. And he jumped onto the Alien franchise after Ridley Scott to do some of the other ones. But those dudes like laid the groundwork for some of the best fucking sci-fi movies ever. I hope there's a same universe District 10 out there happening.
Doubt it.
It just sucks.
Life sucks, Brent.
And then you got good old Cloverfield. That's coming out with a new Cloverfield, whatever the hell that is.
Coming out with another one?
It's in the same vein as Cloverfield Lane, where it's not the like.
Did you watch that?
Not Cloverfield Lane.
Yeah.
And Cloverfield, yeah. Did you like it?
Oh yeah, it was awesome.
I thought it was fucking
Especially
great.
the end, where it was like,
John Goodman.
you know what, aliens.
Well, that was the part that everybody criticized. They were like, why did they have to try to fucking shoehorn this bitch into the end of it? It's like,
see, that's how you get me. Indiana Jones, you know what? Aliens. I'm like, you know what? All right.
So the new one that J.J. Abrams is doing is called God Particle.
God Particle?
Yeah, God Particle is an upcoming American science fiction horror film directed by it's produced by JJ, which is probably just Bad Robot. But it's directed by Julius Ona. I don't know if anybody even knows what it's gonna be about.
But it's supposed to be in this. I mean, I know 10 Cloverfield Lane was like just an indie movie that they jammed Cloverfield on.
It is the third installment in the Cloverfield franchise. As of 2018, the title has been reverted to Untitled Cloverfield Sequel, and the original plot device of a God Particle may have been completely removed from the script. So I don't know if they did like a script rewrite on it.
So it's like the same thing they did with 10 Cloverfield Lane?
It seems as though that they might have taken an original property that they had created or written and been like, can we put this in the fucking...
Just jam it right in there.
Yeah, put it in the Cloverfield, whatever. I guess the early reports about the original plot were saying that it has something to do with a team of astronauts aboard an international space station find themselves alone after a scientific experiment involving a particle accelerator makes the Earth disappear. When a space shuttle appears, the space station crew must fight for survival following their horrible discovery. If that's even going to be what the movie is about.
It'll probably be about the satellite that ends up falling into the ocean.
Right.
In Cloverfield, that actually wakes the monster up. If it has something to do with space like that, it seems like they could shoehorn that part of the Cloverfield lore into it.
That's a good franchise. I remember when the original Cloverfield came out, and they had like that augmented, not augmented reality. What the fuck do you call them?
ARG.
Those ARG games, whatever.
No, augmented reality games, ARG.
Was that what it was?
Yeah.
Trent Reznor did one for Year Zero.
Yeah.
I really like those a lot because
the guy that ran both those, I think, did a talk at RIT that I went to.
No.
Yeah.
That's awesome. The thing behind those for me was that I think it's one of the greatest marketing campaigns you could ever hope to come up with ever for anything.
Mm-hmm.
Because it gets people so involved in it, like especially if they're very clever, like hacking and shit. Like the hacking is what gets me on it.
Got any more talking points?
Talking points. I don't know. Had some wine the other night. Decided that was going to be the night. That was going to be the evening. I'm just going to have some wine. Stopped off at the liquor store. Decided to pick me up a couple of fucking bottles of fancy ass wine. Did some Robert Mondavi.
I don't know what that is.
I
only go for White Cat or Red Cat or Bumbleberry or Cabin Fever.
Oof. Oof. I got a wine aged in bourbon barrels over here that I haven't opened up yet.
Yeah, they don't have White Cat aged in bourbon barrels, so not interested.
White Cat aged in bourbon barrels.
White
It would
Ca-
taste like
it would-
somebody threw a bunch of wood chips into a fucking grape juice.
I can, you know, what would more be my flavor would be White Cat aged in old bottles of Svedka.
It's White Cat, but it's 70 proof. It's like 35% alcohol by volume. It's like, yeah, we finished this off in Bacardi barrels.
Yeah. But did I say barrels? I meant bottles.
Sounds delightful.
They had about a sip left in them, so we just put some White Cat in them, let them sit for a
Basically
little while.
What they did was they added a shot of booze in with your wine, just based on the residue
Sounds good.
on the inside of the bottle. The beer summit. This is just a what are we doing segment, but
I usually look in
forgot
the
to
mirror
ask
and
you
ask
about
myself.
huh?
I said I usually look in the mirror and ask myself that.
What am I doing?
What are you doing?
You're going to the Saratoga Beer Summit. That's what you're doing. You're a good person and you deserve it. That's what you say to yourself in the mirror when you're trying to convince yourself to spend $40 on a tasting ticket for 3 hours. You're a good person and you deserve this. But seriously, when we go up to the beer summit, we get fucking wasty plasted. It's crazy.
Well, that's an odd pair of words you just put together.
Wasty plasted. Plasty wasted.
They sell that in the
White boy wasted. It really is the most white boy wasted time that you could ever have, because it's a bunch of raw denim man buns walking around drinking fucking peanut butter and jelly imperial stouts at 13% alcohol by volume.
Great. Can't wait.
So, dude, you're gonna have a fucking killer time. And if Andrew can fucking try to figure out how to get his ass up here too, we're gonna have a killer time. It's gonna be phenomenal. Just an afternoon of partial day drinking and listening to a shitty top 40 band and eating pretzels.
Now you're talking my language. Pretzels.
Pretzels and jerky. Like, there's a guy that comes there every year that does like what bomb ass jerky. I think it's the same guy that was up at Comic-Con.
Okay.
Saratoga Comic-Con. That same guy. Come up there, you go get a big packet of jerky, and then you get like a bag of pretzels, and then you just walk around eating jerky and pretzels and drinking, like, they give you like a 3-ounce taster glass, and you just, whatever line, you could literally have a beer like full within 5 seconds of drinking the other, but like you're in line drinking the rest of the beer and then rinsing it, and then somebody is pouring you another beer, and then you start drinking that beer while you're walking towards another line and finish that beer by the time they pour you that one.
Do I gotta pretend like I like it? Go,
No, the beauty is there's so many people in there that all you gotta do is just walk up, they pour you the beer, thank you. There's like 5,000 other people around you that want a fucking beer, so they just step up and get the beer, and then you walk away. Listen, those people are there. I'm not saying that it's great. They're there, but you don't have to deal with them, because you kind of just, when we're up there, we just sit in our little group and we just fucking look at each other and get way drunker and way drunker and way drunker until you realize, the thing is, this is so much different than being in a bar, because you're like active drunk. So you will, without fail, get to the point of this excursion within the 3 hours that you're there for the tasting. You'll get to the point where you look at each other and you're like, wow, we're fucked up right now. You don't really say that when you're at the bar. You kind of just get there. Like, you just realize you're fucked up and you continue on. But this is the only time where you will get to a physical point where you look at the person next to you and you say, wow, I'm completely fucked up. Because you have time to think about it. There's time. You got
Good.
some little brief intervals where you can sort of absorb it and walk around, but yeah, we are fucked. Walk around, and then what? And then the beauty is it's in the same building as Comic-Con was, so you know where that is. You just walk out of the building and walk around town till you're sober. It's amazing. It's just troves of zombies just trolling the fucking street. It's completely hammered. Great time to be had by all. Speaking of great times to be had by all, did Justin tell me the other day you didn't get a marshmallow ticket?
We don't need to talk about that, all right?
Oh, we don't need to talk about
No,
it.
not
Is that
in a
right?
public setting. We're not talking about that in a public setting.
This is real public. The millions.
Yes,
of
I'm going to
people
have to pay $100 for a ticket to go see Marshmallow. Okay?
I'm so disappointed.
Sorry, I didn't have the money.
Oh, well, if I would have known that you didn't have it, I would have just went on when they were still fucking $30 and just bought another ticket. I just didn't know. You didn't even tell me. Because I asked you the one time, and you're like, yeah, dude, I'm definitely going. I got it. And I'm just like, all right, no need to pester Dylan anymore about this. And then fucking week later, you're like, Justin's texting me. He's like, yeah, Dylan didn't get a ticket. I'm like, great, cool,
Yeah, cool.
whatever. At least I know you're going. The only problem is that you'll walk up with your ticket that somebody drew with a piece of crayon on a fucking paper, a QR code with or fucking macaroni and cheese Crayola crayon. Let's try to scan it, sir. This is not only a stolen ticket, but it's a copied stolen ticket.
This is a macaroni picture of the Mona Lisa. No.
This isn't a legit ticket. I thought this was a VIP
This
ticket.
is VIP.
Is that what it is?
A secret ticket. It's a backstage
Secret
pass,
ticket.
baby.
It's like a warehouse show that Marshmallow put out these special tickets that are crayon. They look like crayon because it's funny. You know what I mean?
It's
like
fun.
It's funny.
We're fun.
Funny. So you do actually have a ticket, but you paid $1 billion for it.
No, I didn't buy it yet.
Okay, good. Good stuff.
So I still didn't buy it. That's what you're asking.
I will. Me and Justin will say hi to you when you're fucking. When your Ticketmaster ticket doesn't scan. Ticketmaster. Oh yes, you have Ticketmaster ticket. It's acceptable for a marshmallow show in Japan.
Great. All right. That's kind of a podcast for this week.
Oh boy.
I'm ending it. I'm cutting it
You're
off.
ending it out? Whatever.
I'm killing it. Put a
We
bullet
talked
in
about
it.
what we wanted to talk about, kinda, and Dylan, I got my dishes are through the roof, dude. I mean, this is
Go
not
do your
unlike the first
dishes.
podcast. It's kind of like the same thing. I gotta go do the dishes because they're bothering me. That, regrettably, is this week's Jagged Off podcast. If you want to listen to all of the super condensed
Listen to the
50
last one. It was better.
version of this podcast, you can go to the audio versions of it below in the description. And then when you get to the audio versions of that, just select the one that's just above this one in the chronology and have a go at that one because that's got some gems in it. I mean, we both know that that's probably the better podcast.
I don't even think it does.
This is the companion podcast to the one before this. This is just this one goes along
Yeah,
with it.
because that 2-hour podcast needed an hour addendum on it.
Listen, that 2-hour podcast was gold. It's gold.
So I don't
There's
think it was
gold in
gold.
there hills.
There might have been.
Jagged Up
It was
Podcast,
fucking
episode
fool's gold.
26. I'm out.